All right. I don't know what that is. It's kind of like an old Bill Monroe tune. Southern Flavor or something like that. It's sort of like that one. But I was just doing what I remembered here and sort of. So I don't know. It's probably different than that. So I was just kind of playing out of what I remembered in my mind anyway. But I got my banjo tuned into a G minor tune, so I like it. I don't mess with that tuning a whole lot, but I like it. We'll start messing with it a little bit more on. Cool. It'd be easy to make up tunes in that tune. And you know, that brings up a good topic about like that second thing I was playing there is just something I was making up inspired by the first tune. And it's real easy to do that, especially if you're a beginner and you're trying to figure out how to make up your own tunes. Or, you know, I remember when I was first starting out, I was trying to figure out how to do it. And I started noticing right away, especially listening to people like Bill Monroe and Earl Scruggs and bluegrass players. I was listening to a lot of bluegrass when I first started playing, and really didn't have a lot of old time music. And what bluegrass that I could find was just by chance. I mean, there was no YouTube then, and you know, if they had something at Walmart, you was lucky. I mean, it was mostly just country and rock and stuff like that. I think I got one Tony Rice tape at Walmart, that Cold on the Shoulder album. And but initially, what turned me on to banjo playing was just a neighbor had a cassette tape and had it on there, and I liked it. And it was just by chance that I picked up the instrument. There was an old preacher who went to this church I was going to, and he had this old tenor banjo, and I've gotten that banjo now, the same one, but he let me borrow that thing, and that's how I started out. And I was just playing with 2 fingers. I could tell he was using 2 fingers at least, but I didn't know that they was using 3 fingers necessarily till later on. But anyhow, I digress. I was talking about listening to that bluegrass and how you can easily hear how, like, Bill Monroe used a lot of the same ideas in a lot of his tunes, based on a lot of the same scales and ideas, and same with Earl Scruggs and banjo playing stuff. It's got a lot of repetition going on, and you can take a lot of the same licks and just change them around a little bit and change the melody around a little bit, and it's a good springboard for making up your own tunes. There's no reason to feel limited by learning everybody else's music. You can just make up your own music. You know, that's what they did in the old days, and that's what all those guys were doing. And mostly it's just having the whatever curiosity or courage or whatever, just to experiment and not be afraid of, you know, saying, yeah, this is my tune, and by God, it's just as good as anybody else's tune, you know, because it's easy to put these guys up on a pedestal, but they was just experimenting. They were vast, very talented people, of course. But, you know, a lot of times we don't give our own self enough credit, and the only thing that holds us back a lot of times is our own self, because we doubt ourselves so much. No, I'm not as good as those guys, you know. But the truth of the matter is, everybody starts somewhere, and the main thing is just doing it and just doing it and just doing it. And, you know, even if you don't play exactly, you know, I used to try so hard to play like certain people, and, you know, it's always a struggle. But, you know, and I got some adequacy at it, I guess you could say, and I learned a lot about playing by doing that. But eventually what matters is able to play your own way. And you may not be able to play like anybody else. And in fact, you can't. Nobody can play exactly like somebody else. And it's kind of a waste of time anyway, because they've already done that. So the best thing to do is just experiment, learn what you can. Don't beat yourself up when you have a hard time with something, and just keep plugging away, and your own style just naturally happens. And it seems like to me, the older I get, it's just more gonna be my style, because I don't have the patience to sit around and try to figure out everybody's licks like I used to do when I was, you know, 14 or 15 years old. Man, I'd sit around and I'd try to figure that stuff out, and I'd play it over and over and over. Nowadays, you do good to get me to sit down and learn a damn song, so much less trying to copy somebody's stuff. What's happens to me after I've gotten older is this conglomeration of stuff that's just mushed around in my brain, and from playing and playing and playing, and then taking breaks from playing and forgetting things, and then just relearning it my own way, you know. And over a period of time, you just play the way you play, and then whatever sticks is what sticks. And I try to learn some new stuff, you know, as I go along. But the majority of my playing is coming around to these days. Lately, I'm just constantly relearning stuff that I've already learned, but I'm relearning it in a completely different style than what I originally learned it, just because time has passed. And, you know, I played bluegrass, hardcore bluegrass, for a long time in several different bluegrass bands, and I got kind of burnt out on that. And then I really got into the old time music a lot more in the past, I don't know, 10 years or so. I've really been drawn to that a lot more so. And I still love the bluegrass stuff, but I love the fact about what I like about old time music that you don't see as much of in bluegrass music. Something about just the spirit of it, not being so much concerned with being a real technical, flashy player. I like that. And I was always drawn to that right off the bat. I remember some of the first music that did inspire me were like people like Grandpa Jones and String Bean, Uncle Dave Macon, you know, and Earl Scruggs. You know, I remember somebody gave me the Earl Scruggs book, and it was when I was first starting to learn, and I was still playing that little tenor banjo with 2 fingers. And somebody gave me that book, and I remember he's got part in it where he talks about his influences, and he's mentioning Grandpa Jones, who I had heard him on Hee Haw back then, used to come on, and String Bean, but I'd never heard of Uncle Dave Macon, and he mentions him in there, and he shows pictures of, and just the guy's picture, man, made me want to listen to his music, because he was such a character, and almost like a cartoon character or something. I was just really intrigued by that. And then when I started listening, and when I would hear some of the old time stuff, it was just a different kind of feel, and I really liked it right from the beginning. But I didn't learn how to play that type of banjo till later on. I had already learned to start using 3 fingers and started learning Scruggs style before I ever learned how to do clawhammer playing. And it's all kind of come full circle now. And anyway, the thing I love bluegrass music. One thing I don't like within the bluegrass music is that competitive attitude that you seem to see a whole lot. And it just kind of, I don't care for it. It's just a drag. To think of, a lot of times you'll go to you'll see a jam session where it's just like, it seems like everybody's just trying to one up each other. And I used to be like that too when I was a kid, when I was learning. I know I did the exact same thing. And now I just can't stand it. I don't even really want to fool with it, be around it. It's just a drag, you know. It's so cheesy to me. A bunch of dudes standing around in a circle trying to outpick each other is one of the cheesiest things I can think of. But bluegrass don't have to be that way. But a lot of times it gets that way. And it gets real, I don't know, it's a strange community, but I love the music, and I love the people. It's just, I don't know, man. Music in general, I playing music most of my life. The music community is quite like that, you know, competitive. Everybody's trying to one up each other, and it kind of burns you out on the whole thing. I lived in Nashville for like a decade, and you know, you're around that so much till you just kind of get really burnt out on competitive attitude. I really don't care for it at all. I just like music for music's sake, really, and that's what I'm trying to do now. And I'm playing a lot more old time music. It seems to have more of that spirit to it. You know, people just sitting around before music became a thing to make a living off of, or travel around. People couldn't even really travel around. Rural people, you know, that really didn't even have a hope of being a professional musician. They just played for the enjoyment of playing. And I'm more intrigued with that spirit and trying to carry that spirit with my music than I am trying to show everyone what a great player I am. So I just want to keep focusing on that sort of thing, and the old time music seems to really carry that spirit, and bluegrass can have it too. Any kind of music can have it. It's all about the person playing it and the way you think about what you're doing. It's just the community sometimes can be somewhat of a, I don't know what you would call it. It reminds me of high school or something. A bunch of kids going through puberty and trying to show each other this kid's better than that kid and that kid's better than that kid. And I was always kind of a loser, you know, so I never did fit into any of the cliques. I always felt like an outsider. And everything, music and everything, I've always felt like an outsider. But anyway, we can have a lot of fun playing music. You don't have to be a big time professional, and I'm thankful nowadays we have YouTube like now I can make videos and put on there, share with you guys, and you know, we can all be friends and communicate, and I really like that. And it's not about somebody being a big professional musician or something. It's just like in the old days. It's just like back then, neighbors maybe would just walk up and sit around on the porch. Well, now we can just turn on our darn TV and watch the damn shit. So anyway, I've been babbling long enough, so I'll see y'all next time. Have a good one.